Hi, it's Chastia, and it is 12:49. I pushed live at 12:48, so that's a 12:12, and it's June 11th, 2024. And I just wanted to come on and do a little download of the experience. If you're just now seeing this video, or if you've been following me for years or for a while, you'll see drastic changes that I've gone through since I started this channel here on YouTube. Just 3 months after I had a shock activation. I was shock activated in May 2017, and I think it was no more than 3 months after that I started this YouTube channel. And I did that in order to catalog it like research, to catalog and show up and explain and show you and me the stages that I went through for the past 7 years. And so I wanted to add that right here because we're in a significant change again for all of us who just got out of this 7-year tribulation. And one of the I can't even go back. I want to thank y'all for watching me through like 2020, 2021, 2022, when the collective was getting attacked, when they were binding our energy. I mean, if you can only imagine being the planet, or being the planet per the simulation, and having, as an energy bearer, having to rise up through it almost like dough and plowed through all these different energy gates, all these different binding spells that they were doing on the land, and all the necropolises and the DNA and the dead, because it's what it was built off of. So just imagine for a second that piece, because when people, I think for the most part, as a human in the simulation and just now finding out how things work, right? It's difficult to understand for most the journey of the ones like me who held more of the church, which isn't a church, it's not religion, it's where the humans live. Whatever we call it, Earth, simulation, whatever, what matrix, whatever it is, whatever that is, there's a group of us that were embodied as that. The more ancient you were, the more that you were connected with that. So I just wanted to add that, because when we talk about this first 7 years of tribulation that we just got out of, from 2017 to 2024, and going back and watching the videos of whenever I was in Anaheim in 2021, 2022, especially around Lionsgate, and getting out of that Stargate, and all the manipulations that were being done on the Stargate that were linked into CERN, and then all of those things that were happening here on land, and the parts that we knew about that were being manipulated energetically. Remember that that's mirroring up into the cosmos, and it was mirroring into the stars, and there were different Holder cells and James Webb and um, all these different ports that they had added up into the star systems that were all wrangled up there too. So, you know, if you're birthing out of the land and then you're coming through the cosmos, and every manipulation that they were doing down here was mirroring up here. You know, it goes way past MK Ultra. It actually blows my mind the more that we understand how this is being done for so very long. So I want to thank those of y'all that stayed with me through those periods of time where I was so erratic. But I want to also, I mean, the reason that I was on here and the reason I always showed up was to let everyone know this is what was happening down here, you know, to the most ancient, your Aborigine, to, I mean, this, but not only to us, because we were always ahead in our action because of the beings that we were. Our energy bodies were so much bigger than everybody else's. So, and we were at the top of those genomes over this last 7-year cycle. That's what a chosen one is. So the main point in me saying that is that it's not over for the rest of the world. Main point in me saying that, and the main point in me documenting all of this on this channel, is to show the process that we all went through, and it's already linking up to a lot of the programs the government was doing, and it's basically explaining how it was affecting and will be affecting others as we move forward. Also, the title of this, Olives in Bloom, I think is what it is. The video titles, you can go look those up in Gematria, because it's kind of how I'm receiving the titles to put on these. So if it's Gematrix is the one a lot of us use, Gematrix. It's on Google. And if you're not familiar with speech and numbers, because everything is frequency, and every letter is a number, and it changes, and so when we say anything, it could mean a gazillion different things. There's all type. If you take it down into numbers, then it could actually be a bunch of different sayings. So you can look up the title of this on Gematria for a little bit more information on what energy is coming in, and you can add the date or not. It changes it up. I just looked it up. I believe it's the olives are in bloom. Now, I said all that because for this documentation right here of June 11th, 2024, we're all going through significant changes again. When you're time weaving, when you're changing DNA, when you're in a wide open vector, like we were in this procession of equinoxes, because it's what the world's in right now. It's what they didn't want us to remember what time it was. It was a procession of equinoxes, and it was a 1,000,000-year count, which in the future, looking back, So whenever we head into years to come and we start looking back at the past 7 years and even everything I've just stated on here and everything that's been on this channel, it's going to make a lot more sense to the world and to the masses and it's going to be celebrated even more of what we just pulled off, because for the most part the masses haven't gone through what we've been through and what they're about to go through. And what we did and what I keep seeing for this first stage, this first 7 years, is, I won't get into what we did. I'll tell you where we're at right now. Where we're at right now in changing the genome and basically unharvesting DNA, putting DNA and recessive genes back in order so that the human had all of your gifts and powers and telepathy and knowledge and Akashic libraries, changed the projection of the matrix. The matrix that we were living in was only being projected through Orion. So it was all controlled by the lower houses. It was all being controlled on a split. And this is where this parallel stuff starts coming in. And we've got all these planets in Gemini right now. And it's showing me it's like it's a higher frequency of the matrix is what we built for this in between. It's a higher frequency matrix because basically we're stepping into the roles and to the leadership positions where these other entities and organizations had propped themselves up and hybridized themselves and printed themselves back into these different timelines, but all of that energy was connected into the human collective because it's where the energy comes from. And this is really important for all of us to understand where we are with our current understanding of how everything's produced down here, and especially what's coming next after another awakening cycle with more masses that are coming in, because it's changing so much quicker because it is still a matrix. It's changing so much quicker because it still is in a frequency matrix. And it's also important for us to understand that so that we will allow it to change and we can utilize all of our gifts and knowledge in order to change it quicker. I think that's the most important part. And there's a bunch of readers that have showed up in the past couple of days that are saying exactly what I'm saying, and it's that you can, and this is what I've been doing. I've been really isolated the past 3 or 4 days, not even really talking, not hardly to anybody one-on-one, unless it was all about what we're building as far as, not to the whole world, what we're building as far as our brand, how my character, their character in it, it's become hyper focused finally on ourselves, not the whole world, not an ascension, not worried about what the waves and masses are doing, not, I mean, I haven't even been paying attention to the earthquakes. I mean, I know all that stuff's going to go off. We're a year, we're at least a year ahead as far as knowing what's going to happen in this next 12 months because it's on a cycle. We know that those things are going to fall. We know there's going to be a big earthquake coming up. I mean, it's overdue. There's going to be one that's going to pop. There's no way it's not because of the energy of the collective that's coming up. But if we keep focusing, and all of that had a time and place. We for the past 7 years on this channel especially, and within my journey, it was all about everybody else. None of it was really about me. It might have felt like it was about me because I was on here telling you what was happening to me, but it was happening to me as the hood ornament for the collective body. You know, none of it had anything to do with me. These past 7 years has all been about charting the cosmos, charting what's coming, how the eclipses are lining up, how the energy's lining up, birthing the new star, which we did, stargates, getting out of collective binds, getting out of everything that they put on us, including trying to make us sick. Radiation stuff's going to be coming up in July and August because of what went down last year. Remember, anyone that you meet that's been on this journey for the past 7 years, we are at least a year ahead. So everything that happened within your journey, if you were like me and you were focused solely on the collective, then realize that everything that happened last year is gonna compound and happen for the collective. There's no way to stop it. It just is what it is. But also, please realize that certain celebrities, certain dictators, certain ones, not all of them, because there's never a 100%, royals, for sure, all of them, I can say all of them, were given through the DNA in a wide open count the same exact power that we were as the collective, except they only used their energy and only used their gifts and powers in order to back certain agendas and or themselves. From the celebrity side, it was themselves. So, you know, just imagine how, I mean, I'll use the word famous, how famous you would be or I would be if we had all this information that I've been doing on this channel for 7 years and I didn't tell you any of it. I kept it all to myself and I only promoted myself. Every single bit of the knowledge that I've showed up here and told the world, as far as Kohu 32, how the stars work, how you manifest, how you write your own story, how we were in a wide open cylinder. It was a rewrite time. It was a 1,000,000-year count. If I would have used all of that knowledge only for my self-gain, where would I be right now? Now, I'm saying all that because it's exactly how it always happened. It's exactly how the ones that you know their names right now, it's how they got where they were, especially in the royal houses. Because these were just secrets, and they knew the timing, and they were watching the cycles. and even what you'd consider the royal families of the underworld, especially because they kind of ended up being the only ones that we knew about in the end days. You know, so many of the ones that were handling me through this process, and that were the characters that were around me handling me, you know, kept saying that one of the reasons that they didn't believe that I was who I was the fact that I wasn't rich and a celebrity right now. Only reason. I mean, I can't even tell you, and the people around me, this has been one of these things that we scratched our head at and still do, you know, in a way, because so many of them, in fact, all of them, were 100% convinced that I had a ton of money. Like a ton. Like a massive amount of money in the bank, hidden somewhere, da 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 da. You know why? Because in the old simulation and the way it was set up, and you had to have money backing you in order to achieve the frequency that we had from the cosmos in a power sense, in order to change things. It really is like gambling, you know. It's like they were backing, they were putting their money into these different characters, and then if you've got money in the bank, or you got money in bit, or you got, you know, wherever you had it, it was giving you a boost in a way. And because they know we were coming back for all of our stuff, our inheritance, right? So it's like the characters that we had to jump through and become to finish this and resurrect in a way from the past, we'll call it that, were extremely wealthy. And there is accounts, and there is, I mean, still alive accounts. Masonry's a trip. The way they do this is a trip. They keep certain names going and keep putting money into certain accounts under those names, because they always plan on that character resurrecting under their control. See, that was the problem. We would have had our coffers a long time ago if we would have agreed to collect it, show up, and give it back to them in some way, or to work for them against the collective in some way. It's just always how the Anunnaki, Babylonian, it's how it worked. What's happening right now for all of us is that when that bubble popped, because it did, and I know y'all all feel it, when that bubble popped, because when you're undoing black magic, when you're undoing binds, when you're undoing geogrids, when you're changing time, whenever you're time weaving, which was what all the collective's been doing, if you've been working for the collective, is everything that I just named is what you've been up to. All of that, you know, it's like if you have one of those glass electricity generator things, it's got the little bulb in the middle, and you put your hand on the outside, and then those energy rays come in and meet your hand. Well, that's the bubble I'm talking about. And for 7 years, that core and that bubble, with every single geogrid, every single ritual, every single spell, every single ritual, anybody that did anything to themselves per a low frequency deity, a high frequency deity, I mean, all of it was attached to this bubble that just burst. And that bubble, you know, if you don't have the glass, if you've got that little thing that shoots electricity, and you don't have the glass, then when you put your hand up there, is that energy going to touch it? I don't know. Depends on who you are. But my point is, all of everything that was, it was an infrastructure, an old infrastructure that held those grids, and then we had our infrastructure that had birthed over top of it, and where those intersected and bound up, and it got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and now that has burst. So, and it just happened. Like, it just happened a few days ago. When was that? Hold on, let me look. I'll tell you. It happened on June 1st. So we've been, so 10 days, which has kind of been a thing I've been watching. A lot of things, a lot of these big shifts, it's taking 10 days. That bubble broke. And so and as soon as it did, and then again after we got past the new moon, and I know for me this shift really started happening in my psyche on like Friday and Saturday, last Friday I would say. And then Saturday and Sunday is when, as a collective, and I'm sure all of you felt this, but on Sunday, it's like all of that energy that we had to spend 24 hours a day on, 7 days a week, show up here and tell people. For a lot of us, that's what the messengers had to do, because it's how consciousness works. So there was certain, we had to tell everybody as much as we could about everything that we independently knew was happening, because it's how consciousness works as far as a collective. Not me by myself just building myself up. Remember, that's the opposite, and then that only builds me up. No, those of us that were collective messengers, that have been your guardians and all these different titles that humans like to put on everybody that confuse the fuck out of everybody, but whatever. Right? We no longer had to show up and tell everybody everything. Can y'all give me a thumbs up? I have like not one. Blows my mind. We don't have to show up and tell everybody everything. We don't have to show up and tell everybody everything, because it's done. So for all of us, and this is even, my whole TikTok thing. That I had spent a year on that. There were 8,000 that were on there. The energy on my page was different than I mean, it's like, it's good and it's bad that it happened. From the human perspective, as I haven't shed a tear about it. I really haven't. It didn't devastate me at all. But humanly, whenever I go to my TikTok now and I see 80 people on there, I'm like, I can't believe I'm having to start over again. Now, my whole existence as Christy and Chastia has all been about starting over. What I'm saying is, I'm not doing it anymore. This is this is it. Whatever we're building now is gonna stick. Number one. There isn't going to be anything that can be done in order to bring it down. It's already done. We already wrote it. Everything that is going to happen to the world, every dictator that's going to fall, every politician that needs to freaking pull their apron up, they've already done it. It's already been done. They already wrote it. They wrote it against whoever the hell, but it's going to happen to them. All of the sequences to get out of it for the human collective is been written. Every single pieces of it has been written now. There is, as far as consciousness and us having to show up and give direction, like this video today, it's more so to let everybody know you need to start focusing on yourself. and this is why. Or to show what we know has already been done, and it's what time it is again. Because energetically, every single thing that has been done this past 7 years, it's an energy, right? Well, when the collective, and it was done to who? The highest frequency beings in the collective. Okay. So, whenever the collective groups get to that frequency band that the high energy frequency person was in and they got attacked, it's going to happen again. Energy doesn't leave. Energy does not leave. And I know that we know that from a physics perspective, but from a human perspective, this is where this shit will blow your freaking cookie cutter. Realize that whenever they and I've said this before, whenever they pulled the trigger on an atomic bomb, per se, or the one that they accidentally dropped in North Carolina. Okay. Realize that that was lined up to another bomb explosion that happened originally, or a meteor. Probably not even a bomb. Is probably another timeline where a meteor hit or a comet came into the field or something. And they used that event on that time count in order to blow something else up. Literally. I mean, the whole nuclear thing is bullshit. I mean, we took the energy nuclear. I've said that too. Red mercury? You mean blood? You mean blood? So, for me, is like, even in our human form, it's like we get used to things. We get in a cycle. We get in a, it's if we look back over the past 7 years, from year to year, since 2017, what were we doing on a daily basis? What was happening on a daily basis? We can look back and clearly see that it changed from year to year, right? Good or bad. But the cycle in being and what you were doing, what position you were playing on the team, and then that kept rising. If you were doing a good job, then you were getting more and more and more and more responsibility, right? Well, it's kind of like in a 3D way to say it, that company closed down. Everybody, the company closed down. You were in the company for 7 years, and now all of a sudden, and this is just from a human 3D analogy, now all of a sudden it's like you don't have an office to show up at. You're like, you wake up every morning and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to be doing with myself now, right? It's basically what it's like. But from all of us who were at the company, we knew that let's just put it into like a futuristic movie. Okay, we were at that company because we knew that we all had to show up every day and do every single thing for 7 years because it's a giant Stargate. We had the office built on this giant Stargate energy at a specific place in the world. It's where we were all meeting every single day, and we all knew that whenever that company shut down, that for the next 7 years, it was all still going to happen again, but for the whole world. So it's not that it's over. Everything's still in play. In fact, for those of us who got all the way up at the top, it's not that we're supposed to stay up there. See, this is the other thing. Whenever you start, this is an evolutionary thing, especially coming out of an Orion financial imprisonment system, because from the human perspective, you think you want to get on top and you want to stay on top. Well, no, not necessarily. Not in the way that we think in a human way. We think in a human way whenever you become the CEO, whenever you become the artist, whenever you become the whatever, and then you get all the stuff. right? Then you want to be it, you want to be up there forever, right? And you and that's the human, that's the human 3D thinking. But the truth is, you know, for all of us who have walked that in the 3D and not in the and in the spiritual, is like you can only hold so much. You can only do so much. You're eventually, your body's gonna give out. Like you're gonna become exhausted. You're gonna lose your mind. You're gonna you know, like you can't you can't just hold it forever. You can't get up to the top like Moses and then plant your flag. That was the problem, especially in an evolution of human DNA, because the top of the past 7 years is not going to be the same frequency that needs to be at the top at the end of the next 7 years, right? So it's a complete shift now for all of us that, you know, were the front runners and that were the pioneers and that even knew that we had to build this company for the past 7 years on that specific plot of land and make all these connections. We've been doing it for over 50 years, our whole entire lives. I mean, and I know for me, because it's 1972. It's when the Ascended Masters came in. Us Ascended in 72, we all came in with the plans to build the business that I've been talking about in this little analogy for the past 7 years. Our whole reason for existence was to build that little Stargate weird ass physics futuristic timeline per a movie. It's with how they show it. That's the whole reason we were here. It had nothing to do with us. It had nothing to do with our wants and desires. Even subconsciously, if you were asleep, it had nothing to do with what you wanted to do. It had nothing to do with who you wanted to be with. It was all in order to get what we needed in certain timelines, in order to counteract whatever they were doing to us energetically, in order to counteract the spell work that they just did on us this cycle, because a lot of us have been planning the reverse of that spell work for 50 years or 40 years or 30 years, whatever it is. So for us, this shift of becoming more just Leo is a big one. It's a really big one because we're not used to. You mean I have to figure out like exactly what I want now? Like so I can use all my gifts and powers now and all my abilities and even my connections with everyone that walked out of that company, because we're all still working together. Remember, we're just not having to report anymore. Like it's all still in play. You're getting paid now. You're not getting paid physical money from the past 7 years. Now you're getting paid from the energy that we all made from it. Company shut down. No more payroll. But see, you knew that. You knew that the dollar was going to slip. The financial current was a mess. That it was all changing. This is Bellatrix. Sun's in Bellatrix energy. Venus is just now leaving it. Barter systems, the actual true free price, the price and the real current of money. That company shut down. You're no longer on payroll, but every single one of us is getting the energetic in our to uplift our reality now for the next 7 years. So it's like the biggest, what's the word? Kind of like retirement, Social Security, whatever. What's the package whenever you leave? Whenever you leave and they give you a package. Well, this is it. Everybody that was on the team for the next 7 years is getting to now use all of that and the team's energy in order to build their reality. And as long as you stay in the heart space of the collective, and as long as you're not, don't get greedy, and as long as you remember the collective throughout the whole process and make it, you know, streamline, and don't go all other side with it, don't get too off balance with it, then it's going to continue to build. And I can promise you that over the next 7 years, we will, you think that's easy right now because we don't have it all. But I can promise you that over the next 7 years, that will be part of our challenge in our journey, is when it all starts coming in, and when it all starts building, being able to keep it balanced. And I can promise you that all of us will hit some type of wave. Now, it probably won't happen for 3 or 4 or 5 years, maybe at the end of the 7-year cycle. Not that it'll be devastating, but there will be something energetically that we have to remember back to when we had the company and that corporation, and we were all there, and remember that this was all about the collective. Because whenever it starts happening to you independently, it's really easy to lose sight of the collective, which is the problem with how the world's being run, is it not? So for all of us, not only that, this is all happening in our body. If you've had any diarrhea, stomach stuff, even the dog had it last night over here all night long. The morning, Sunday, was it Sunday morning? Can't remember if it was Monday morning or Sunday morning now, because they're all flowing together. I woke up and I was so dizzy. I had this, it wasn't a migraine. I had a headache, but I was so dizzy. It's almost the frequency is so strong, because it's no longer just a little frequency. Now imagine that frequency is that, if you imagine a lightning bolt. Now, I don't want you to think about the lightning bolt. I want you to think about the space that lightning bolt's hitting. So I want you to think about all the energy that's on this side of it and all the energy that's on this side of it, not the lightning bolt. Take that out of the equation. Lightning bolt, you're only seeing it because those two energy sequences are colliding. Well, that's what my brain felt like. It felt like all the gray matter was literally just moving real slow, and because what's happening is the energy on the planet and how it's changed. Because as a collective, we're still in the wheel, right? But how it's changed is that our Sirian energy has gotten so strong. And what is Sirian energy? It's at the bottom of the ocean, at the bottom of space, and it connects a whole bunch within a dense frequency. So it's the highest frequency that you can have in the lowest density. You know, you'd weigh 10,000 pounds, but you can send a signal to every fish in the sea. But you'd weigh 10,000 pounds because you're at the bottom of the ocean. Well, the collective has changed the energy of Cancer. And this is how Cancer is coming up to Capricorn. Basically, Cancer has now overpowered Capricorn's zappy bullshit. But it's because we're not, all of us can hold a high frequency in a dense form. And we're holding it together because that company we were working at for the past 7 years. And all the physics, and all everybody that did all their research, and everybody that was involved with it. And there's a bunch of us. This is 3 rounds of 144,000. So at least 144,000 divided by 3. We're working at that company at minimum. At minimum. It's actually bigger than that, but it can give you some idea of how many people worked at our company. So what's changing is that our bodies, and this is where the evolution takes place. You know, this is evolution of the human race. It's like in the next 7 years, and in 14 years, and in 20 years, whenever everything and everything starts completely changing, and we no longer have disease, and our children aren't coming out all jacked up every single 10-year count with different problems, and we no longer have pharma and all this crazy bullshit, and it's just like a given that you don't do it that way. Well, it's because of what we did the past 7 years at our company. Okay. But it takes a little bit for the rest of the world to hit it. You experienced it first, especially if you're watching this. It's why we were all black sheep. It's why they tried to make us seem like we were crazy. It's why they set us up in the government, and any type of writings that went into the government, and or anything. This is why they used our characters to write different movies. And I've been watching a lot of movies the past few days as I was going through this. All specific ones. I'm always watching the ones I need to watch. What really blows my mind the most is that I swear a lot of the ops that did remote viewing, a lot of them even knew what movies I was going to be watching because the synchronicities are coming up. It's nuts how that works. If you're remote viewing on any high frequency being, and you try to make any moves on them because of a remote view, just, you should know you're gonna get a flat back from it. You shouldn't be messing with any. I don't care if you have the ability to remote view into any type of situation. There's a difference in remote viewing on a person and trying to match up timelines, and then just getting a message about somebody. And the world is going through two things now: the ones who are misusing their abilities, and a lot of the times you don't even know that you're misusing them because you just got them, and there wasn't a book, given to you on what and what not to do. Okay. And then the other one is the masses realizing that they can change some of this, and that they have to. Okay. So, and then they'll be getting abilities, and right. I mean, this is all a learning planet. It's always learning, no matter what. I got off on a little loopy loop there on that remote view. Oh, the movies. And what and this is just across the board, as far as the divine feminine, even goes back to the Mary Magdalene stuff in the Bible, and and how they took out all the women, and blah 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 blah. But realize that construct went on in every aspect of our reality. It's you, especially like in DC characters, Marvel characters, the people, the characters that were considered the bad guys, that Marvel was always trying to take out, and DC was trying to take out, and they have the collective hating on that character. For the most part, especially if it was dealing, like, a lot of those characters are based on ancient mythology, and they were basically based on your divine feminine and this whole energy shift that we're in right now. And from an Illuminati person or a Rothschild, yeah, this would be the end of the world. And they'd want you to stop it. So it's like most of those movies, just realize, most of those movies, those characters are, and see, and this is why whenever that character energetically, so whenever we show up and we start changing things, and blah 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 blah, if it's a blockbuster movie that a whole bunch of people have seen, well, then that character, and they have just enough bits of it that are real life that they knew were going to happen. So it's just enough to where if you're that character in real life, then everybody hates you. And everybody accuses you of trying to do something bad or hurt people or whatever, right? But we know what's really happening. We're actually trying to get them to stop hurting people. But my point is, those characters have a mythological, cosmic reference to them. And I just wanted to point that out. Because energetically, whenever the collective hits that energy, it's why they booted me off. It's why China's scared. Well, they should be scared. You should be scared. You absolutely should be worried. But that doesn't mean double down and keep doing it the same way that you've been doing it. That doesn't mean elect a new dictator because I mean, come on. But every being down here is gonna have to make that decision. And we all know this for the past 7 years, you cannot be in fear at all. And you cannot stay anywhere just because it's safe. You can't. Not whenever you're coming through this. You'll never witness the change. You'll never, if you're somewhere that you literally cannot stand, and people are around you and you've been there for 2, 3, or 4 years, and it's like now you've just accepted it is what it is, and you've never left, never tried to leave, never tried to change it, never tried to heal the people in the house to match your energy, kept on the down low, didn't tell anybody about your gifts, didn't want them to think you were nuts, whatever. And this is the same thing with, and I brought this up because of China. You're not going to witness until you step out in faith, knowing that everyone else is like you and that you're there to change it for everybody else. And you can't plan it and you can't predict it because it'll come to a culmination point, and it makes you bulletproof. It's like how did Wonder Woman know that she could pick up a house if it fell on top of her? It's not like a simulation experience. It's like you really don't know that you can lift that house off of you until you're under attack and that house falls on you. And then because all you're doing is echoing and reverbing the power of that house falling on you. All you're doing is all that pressure that falls on you, you're like and you throw it off. But you can't sim that. You can't simulate that without getting a house thrown on you. You're not gonna feel it until it gets wound up, and then there'll be a trigger moment, and it'll be some energy that's sent to you, and all you're doing is capturing that energy and blowing it back. But if you don't make that move, if you don't capture it and blow it back, guess what happens to you? You get wound up. Because that energy came in. That energy came in. That house fell on top of you. If you didn't blow back that energy, then you get wound up. Right? Now, right now, with this June and July, I cannot say it enough. It's this June and July and leading up into August, and I'm going to be talking about it as because I'm going through these changes big time right now. Shedding all of it. Shedding off everything that had to do really with my old life, with who I was, understanding what it was, understanding why it all happened, having no judgment in it at all, except for the gratefulness that I am to be fucking done with it. Except being grateful I have a place to sleep. Except being grateful that I have what I have. Except being grateful that I have the friends that I have. I have the dog that I have. I at least have Martha and Al here. That my son is alive. That I'm alive, even though I don't get to see him. But he's alive. We're both alive. Which has never happened before at this point in these transitions with the characters that me and my son were. That's where we all need to be right this very second, because at the end of July last year is when they sent us the radiation. Now, I don't know how that's going to come up in the collective. I don't know what's going to happen on the world stage, or if it is going to be seen, but it happened. You can basically think of me as the highest energy. So that radiation hit out in space, that radiation hit down underneath the ground. They always did. It's how they sealed Antarctica. That's how they sealed the toroidal field. They always sent us their trash, no matter how you want to configure it, from stuff being dumped into the ocean to cold fusion in the atmosphere, of a coring engine, of a drill. I mean, all of it. No, because it's all connected. No matter what, that radiation was sent to the collective July 31st last year. And it was stemming from 2021, 2020, how they were wrangling us in Stargates, because it was all being undone. So at this point, and what I'm talking about is the collective was undone from it. We had gone raw. We were rebirthing through it. And if you want to think of it as when that radiation hit us, we had a skeletal DNA system that fried every cell off of us. And in fact, that radiation helped us reform a new body that could live in it. This is what happened. This is also why, for me specifically, I needed another year. It's why you'll have periods in your journey, especially 2023, 2022, or maybe this is your year, 2024, where you kind of are in a year out of time. It's because in another timeline, you's dead. So so you've got to rebirth yourself for 10 months. So it feels like you're not moving, you can't do anything. It's like but it's because in another timeline you're fucking dead. And that's all different for all of us. But just remember that July, now this is what's weird about it. July 31st is when this happened, and then it was August 3rd last year whenever we beat AI, meaning we were 4 seconds. We had 4 seconds on them programming the human DNA. Okay. And so we beat them. We finished our DNA programming 4 seconds before they did. And then the whole thing blew. And then we started writing the crap out of it. Well, and adding a ton of stuff. I haven't talked about it in a while, but let me tell you, when I got in there, because my whole existence had been training to write in that cipher code. And so whenever I got in there and it blew open, it was like I went for it. So meaning putting all the abilities that I could, anything that I saw in physics that I could put in there, we put in the human form. It wasn't in there before. Like none of it. Hardly any of it. Because the whole human DNA code was written for them to walk in it. So that's why the human DNA kept getting dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber. Less ability, less ability, less ability, less ability, blah, 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 like a blank slate. They did that. This is how all these entities and energies were able to walk into the human energy field over the past freaking thousands of years, because they were dumbing down the human DNA. Well, we put the mother lode back in it. So that is August 3rd. So it'll be a year, August 3rd. So it is right now, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. We're at 10 months right now. And we're feeling it. This is the body stuff. This is also the sun, the huge X flares that we're getting. Can y'all give me a thumbs up, please? Like and share, please. Please. This is also the body stuff. If you're getting chills, if you're getting like cold sweats, and it comes on, and it comes on real quick. It's almost, it reminds me of like menopause systems. It'll be like a hot flash from like your inside out, like you're freaking burning up, and then you're like, what the hell? And you just kind of have to breathe through it, and it goes away quick for me. If that's what, is that what you're feeling? Everyone's saying yes. It goes away quick, but it's like all of a freaking sudden, and then you're like, so just breathe through it, and then you get like it's almost like you're touching yourself, and you're like, oh my God, now I'm clammy, like a cold. It goes from a hot into like a cold. Well, this is why. We put the mother lode back into the DNA. We're at 10 months. What happens at 10 months? Well, if I'm gonna use it in a harvest, right? So 8 months, the crops are done. 8 months, all the oranges are here. They're all on the trees. So 9th month, we're gonna be picking them. We gotta pick all the oranges, right? 10th month, they're going to market. 11th month, we're collecting all the money. Everybody's getting paid. Everybody, da-da-da-da-da-da. And now we're having to make decisions on what are we going to do next with it. Are we going to replant oranges again? Are we going to go apples? Are we, right? But the money's there, right? And that's how you think about month 9, 10, and 11. Month 9, 10, and 11 are cycles that most beings don't even know what 9, 10, and 11 were. It was like everything was an 8 process, 8 steps in a process, not 9, 10, 11, right? So what I'm seeing is that it's the beginning of July, right? Well, I mean June. It's the beginning of June. What I'm seeing is that it's like June, the beginning of June last year, and the end of July. Wait, I said that backwards. See what I'm saying? The end of July last year is matching up more to the beginning of June this year. So I feel like, and I've been, because it's on, and I keep seeing at a circus whenever you have the trapeze act, so, and because that's what's happening. We were, you can't just be from the future, from the past. At some point, that's gotta match up and print. And the way that the month cycle works in human energy, because it does all, there's a reason everybody does budgets when they do. There's a reason and how they've been using January, February, March, April, blah, blah, blah. It all works in a big human energy machine. And what I'm seeing is that it's kind of like, if this is the end of July is going out, it's meeting it in June this year. So it's like July 31st. I feel like we're going to be feeling that energy June, at the end of June, at the 1st of July. And that's when the radiation hit. I feel like we're going to be feeling it more at the end of June. So that would mean at the beginning of July is when we beat AI. It's like it's instead of August, because when August gets here and we go into Leo, then it's affecting the body. It's affecting muscle tissue, everything to do about Leo. That's where the moon is right now. We're about to be in Regulus, the old 33 Regulus count. And it really is like everybody's inside your muscle tissue, inside your body, that frequency is changing. This is why the hot flashes, it's almost like a pulse goes out and we're all like, but again, we were working at that company with 144 times 3, right? 144,000 times 3. We were all in that. It's almost like there's the alarm. It's almost the same as an intercom. that we at the corporation, that hot flash, whenever you feel that hot flash, think of it as like an intercom announcement at the company. We're all getting it. And and that frequency is like tuning us all into a specific energy frequency, okay? In order to kind of like build more of a foundational frequency. Insurgence. It's insurgence is what it is. We're feeling insurgence. Because as we go into Leo, it has to be done before. And there is no more Lionsgate. I mean, Lionsgate 8-8, you know, you can call it whatever you want. We can call it Lionsgate all we want, but there is no more Stargate. There is no more portal. The portal is your body. You've got to go inside and rebirth your energetic body. And this year, that is happening collectively for all of us to almost plant fully the most etheric, energetic, from the highest frequencies that you can hold. And every year on instead of everything coming through a Stargate and then I mean, because we brought 2020, I can't remember, it was 22 or 21 because I was in Anaheim with both of them. We brought that mountain. It was a lion. Well, it was a lion cub, but it was over 1 million years old, and it came through the portal and Lionsgate. It was either 2021 or 2022. Well, that's that ice wall because it was right there. So realize that in the old, and this is why that movie company was called Lionsgate. When we were all unconscious, they were using that portal to create in our realm. Now that we have control of that portal and we know it's the collective body, then it's going inside, not outside. Okay, I'll get it. Are y'all leaving?
We just brought Bailey back. We're going to go to Aldi and Walmart.
Okay.
And I took his cone off.
Okay.
He found a thorn was working its way out.
It was a thorn? The whole time? Okay. Live. Bailey's foot wasn't a growth. It was a thorn. It was a thorn in his foot. And I just watched something yesterday about the crown of thorns and what it really was. The crown of thorns was basically stopping Yahshua's connection to everybody else. It was like a device that was put on his head in order to stop his connection to everybody else. And so anyway, this Lionsgate, this 8-8 is more like jumping to the other side of the Great Wall, back into the body, not outside of it. And the other thing that I'll say really quick is that yesterday, well, it's 40 and 3D days, but the way that they're going, yesterday had a 6 in it, today has a 7 in it, tomorrow has an 8 in it, and the 13th has a 9 in it, and then the 14th, 15th have 10s in it. So this week especially is gonna gradually build this energetic for you a little bit at a time, but it's going to be in a daily sequence. But this week could be an upgrade that normally would take a year, 2 years, at least a month for your old physical self in order to transition into working on yourself. Because every single one of us that left that company, the only reason that we was working at that company is because we no longer wanted somebody in charge of us at the top. We no longer wanted to have to be in a box. We didn't want to just be in accounting. Yeah, we were good at accounting, but once we got into accounting, then the best we could do is be the controller. And we really were good at engineering, and we were good at all these other things, and we didn't want to be in a box anymore. And that's the whole reason that we set up that company to begin with, no matter who you put on top. Remember that was built in this new energy where the jack of all trades, the master of all. This is why, and I just got so dizzy. This is why energetically, you know, they all wanted to put us in a box. They all wanted to tell me, you've got to concentrate on just one thing. You can't be a writer and an astronomist and a singer and a lyricist and an artist and a speaker. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can't put us in a box. It's not how it works. Creativity works across the board. How many angles are you able to channel it in? But as a society, we all want to put a label on somebody and say, okay, this is what, well, now that's called ascended. If you can do more than one thing's good, you're called, it's ascended. But I just wanted to add that in there because I know that's been the main thing my whole life, is everybody trying to put me in some type of category that never matched up. And the more that you want to put a category on us, the more it's going to change us to get us out of that category. So I think that's all I got right now. Remember, if you want to go look up the Gematria code, check that out. And just remember, too, that the titles will be that way from now on. And I'll remind you on these videos. And I'll be back soon. I have 5 likes now. So if you can give me another, if somebody hasn't given me a like, I appreciate it. And if you are on TikTok and you'd like to help me get my numbers back up so I can go live on there again, because I'm not going to beat down a horse and freaking attempt to even try to get it back up. Whoever comes, whatever frequency hit. But especially on TikTok, what we did the past year is just now starting, because it's a year to the date. Whenever I mean, I'm like 20 followers different than I was last year, literally. So everything that we did on TikTok is just now starting to hit the world and the collective, because is what we do whenever we're on things and we change them. But I'm at Princess Chastia, and it's spelled correctly. Princess with an E at the end. PRINCESSE Chastia. For now, that's my handle. Not sure if we'll do something else more from the brand whenever I get it more stabilized on what we're going to do. But we'll keep doing what we do over here. Just tune in into your soul. Now, what do you want to do next with your abilities and with all the connections that you established the last 7 years? Sending everyone love and healing energy. And right now I'm going to send an energy, and you might have been feeling it on here if you get tired when you hang up from this, because I'm starting to get tired now. If you get tired, or if you get some type of dizzy, or if you get nauseous, or if you get, just realize it's because all of us got together in a bubble and we're pushing through a lot of powerful negative, not negative, not low frequency, but like negative space power. Not the lightning bolt. We were sending waves on each side of the lightning bolt, and it's hitting your energetic, and it's why you found this, in order to help you assimilate, to hew up this next week.